A mystic adventure. Card captors. A quest for all time. Each card possesses a power all its own. We've got to find them to bring the power home.
Shadow, wood, sword, thunder, power, sleep. Card captors of the clouds that we unexpected now.
What's up, nerds? It's your old pal Fino, and today we're taking a look at wannabe card captor Illyasviel von Einzbern. Ilya is an arts caster geared towards single target damage. Normally I start with skills, but Ilya is a character defined almost entirely by her noble phantasm. It does massive single target damage and comes with its own clutch buster amp. But there's a catch. It applies an attack and defense debuff each time you use it, with an effective cap of 30%. So you're caught in a double whammy. You can't do Tamamo shit because it's a buster NP, and even if you could cast it every turn, that would just cripple you. Later on, Ilya will get a strengthening quest that gives you NP and star generation to prep for a second cast, but the debuff stays the same. Sound like bad news? It gets worse. Ilya has atrocious NP generation. It's so bad that without crits or an external source, actually getting it charged is a massive headache. Ilya's kit is heavily geared around this noble phantasm. Skill 1 is a buster amp. She has an arts deck, so the only real application for this is with her NP. Skill 2 gives invincibility and NP generation. The idea is that you pop it to soak an NP, and recover charge that way. You could also blow it right away to get your first NP. For most encounters you only need one to obliterate the boss, so there's that. Skill 3 is very strange. It's a targeted heal that has a chance to give its target guts and debuff immunity. The idea is for Ilya to cast it on herself to avoid her own NP debuffs. Of course, it has a 70% chance to hit, which, as a point of reference, is the same accuracy that Focus Blast has in Pokemon. Long story short, it's gonna miss enough to really piss you the fuck off. Team building, as you might imagine, is an exercise in babysitting her. My first method is having people who can cleanse her debuffs. For slot 3, you can pick any arts or arts hybrid servant, but I've chosen 2 characters that everyone should have. These are Chloe and Medea. Real quick, Chloe gets an upgrade to her 3rd skill that increases Ilya's buff success rate, so she can get debuff immunity with no chance of failure. Otherwise, Chloe's just a secondary damage dealer. As for Medea, her 3rd skill is a targeted cleanse that also increases NP generation. As a bonus, Rulebreaker can remove any obstacles to Ilya's NP by purging evasion, invulnerability, and defense buffs. They make a great team. Now slot 3 is where things get hairy. As you're about to find out, Ilya has very expensive tastes. Nightingale and Lancer Raikou can both augment her buster damage and remove debuffs. Saber Shiki has a party-wide cleanse on her own NP, so you could actually chain it after Ilya's, though Shiki's overcharge sucks pretty hard. Xuanzang gives party-wide NP generation and debuff immunity on her 3rd skill, also pairs well as a single target caster. And finally there's Bibi, who's coming in the not-so-distant future. She can set Ilya up for 2 NPs with no debuffs, remove evasion/invulnerability, and give 20% charge to the entire party with her own NP. Alright, that's the baseline. Let's look at some more specialized teams. I call this one the Tactical Nuke. Using either Demonic Bodhisattva or Black Grail, we can set up an apocalyptic damage turn. The idea is that we stack some combination of attack, buster, and NP buffs to make Ilya super swole. Like Heracles swole. My preferred options are Merlin and Thomas Edison, possibly with Waver in the backline if you want to run the combat uniform. With both Bodhisattva and Edison's concept improvement, you can hit 500% overcharge for a much larger buster amp. And Merlin does Merlin things. It's a pretty simple team, though you're gonna get fucked up if you don't kill your target. If you want to set up with a bit more longevity, here's an option with John and Waver. The idea is that you arts chain all day and night. John's NP can remove debuffs and shield you from abuse. Health regen also a nice touch. If there's a massive assassin that needs killing, I'd imagine this is gonna be close to optimal. And finally, we have a meme team courtesy of longtime viewer and Ilya apologist Master08. Now you might be wondering what Nero Bride is doing here. You see Ilya, you've got a new mommy. This team focuses on gaining NP by getting hit. Kiritsugu has an awesome parenting skill that makes any ally have taunt for a turn, and Ilya has her invuln/NP gain skill. Nero can also donate a substantial NP gain buff. In other words, you force aggro onto Ilya and generate meter that way. It makes a strange kind of sense. You see, Ilya inherited her dad's atrocious NP gain, so she could use the leg up. Now, if you're missing one or the other, you could try running Stinky Old Man Paracelsus instead. You know, send her to a foster home. Also, if you don't have carry, check to see if you have a copy of Guda Guda Poster Girl. It comes with a 3-turn taunt, which is pretty fucking strong and exploitable with this team. Speaking of craft essences, let's look over the options we haven't covered. First, we've got NP generation. Edison's Bond CE gives it for the entire team. Halloween Petite Devil, Magical Girl of Sapphire, Divine Banquet, Holy Night of Learning, Choco Angel, and our Conquest on the Ocean of Stars are all valid. Vessel of the Saint stands out among these since it gives NP gen and 3 stacks of debuff immunity. Good shit. Other choices have a mix of starting NP and damage like for Sunrise Aerial Drive and Golden Sumo. Prismacosmos gives meter every turn, also a very good option. Now you may have noticed a problem. A lot of these are gotcha CEs. When I said Ilya has expensive tastes, that applies to everything. And finally, let's talk about Mystic Codes. Atlas Academy has a skill that removes debuffs. Pretty obvious applications for Ilya. The more interesting option is Fragment of 2004. It has clutch NP gain and NP damage. This plays into the Atomic Ilya playstyle where your first NP is the only one you need. We don't have this in NA yet, but keep an eye out. Overall, Ilya is a pretty frustrating servant to work with. Half the time I felt like I was stuck playing around her weaknesses instead of her strengths. And like I said before, she's got very expensive tastes. I couldn't physically run some of these setups, so I do apologize for the sheer amount of PowerPointing that's going on in this video. All that aside, she does have her applications. Her burst damage is crazy high, especially post-strengthening. You could even run her as a suicide lead to chunk out the boss before swapping in a finisher, or you could build setups that manage her meter and debuffs. There's a way forward is what I'm trying to say, but I'm not gonna lie. It'll be rough pre-strengthening. When Ilya came out on JP, she was ranked worst 5-star, tied with Nerd Alter and Kiara. And this lasted for a very long time. Until Agartha, come to think of it. So yeah, have fun with that. Alright, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, help me out with the like, sub shit, and come and watch me on Twitch. I'm probably streaming right now. Alright, see you later.